Are we streaming? Are we streaming? Are we being streamed? It appears that we are.
Are we streaming?
Wow.
Are we being streamed?
Nope.
It appears.
Don't like that.
No.
Are we streaming?
Definitely gonna edit that part out.
About to hear me.
Streamed. Nope. It appears. Don't like that.
No? Okay.
Oh
Definitely gonna
gosh.
edit that part out.
And a pause in between. Hello and welcome to another episode of Improperly Packaged, a show where we unbox movies, TV, games, whatever. I am Jordan. With me is Luke. How are you doing, Luke?
I'm whatever.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all whatever? And yeah, this.
I've got some whatever for you, Jordan.
Give me that whatever. You know I love the whatever that you bring.
I have been doing some silly cooking. Here we are back on food again. Last week we went on a rant about
what we
food,
do.
But I don't know. I mean, spending a lot more time at home. I mean, a lot of stuff is open and everything. It's just, I don't know. You can't travel. I don't know. Just in general, still spending more time at home. So, I mean, you had kind of talked about it. I feel like when you spend time at home, you end up just like messing around with stuff.
You're just fiddling, Luke, and that fiddling extends into the kitchen. So
I'm blanking on the name of the thing. That's one of the reasons I'm fiddling for time. It's the Disney stuff. It's the Dole Whip.
Oh.
So there is, I like Dole Whip in general. I mean, I would say most people probably do as well. Basically, it's just frozen like fruit juice for those who haven't been to Disney or I don't know, Universal. I think it's at a bunch of parks.
I think so.
It was at Holiday World, which I went to with our mutual friend Jason up in Indiana. They had it up there, and I think that was actually the first time I'd had it. I hadn't had it at Disney yet at that point. But so I am in the process of attempting to make it on my own here at the house.
Ooh.
So I was just before this slicing up limes and figuring out that I think it is considerably more difficult to peel a lime than it is to peel a orange.
Yeah.
Because I just had a time of it. I figured out that first, if you peel it whole, that is much harder than if you slice it up into like a normal like orange slice size and then like peel it that way. Much easier.
So what'd you do? You stuck your knife into the lime and tried to like kind of just cut the rind off of it? Or
I tried to just like make a little cut and then just like open it up with my fingers. That's not happening. It's too small. It's too dense. So you cut that puppy up into little slices and then you work that edge and you just rip it off like you do in, what's the Rockstar game? Oh, Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, God.
When he's like peeling the rabbits. He's like,
I just rip that final whoop.
Instead of like the knife and slowly
Like Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. Skin goes right off.
Yeah, exactly. This is getting more and more disgusting the more metaphors we're coming up with. But basically, yeah. So I had to peel some limes, and now I'm freezing them. So the recipe that this lady had, it's just some lady. She's had like almost the same Dole Whip, lime Dole Whip, I think was the name of her recipe or something silly like that. Basically,
not quite,
yeah,
but...
like I did it close. But so it's honey, I guess, for the sweetener. It's almond milk, frozen limes, lime juice, and I want to say lemon juice as well. And then she said, she suggested you garnish it with like grated lime.
So much citrus.
I don't know.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. But I've got some really good honey I got down in Plant City, so I'm excited.
All right, you gotta let me try some of that crap.
We'll see how the old blend tech handles.
I can't believe you have a blend tech. It's just I keep forgetting.
It's really a dream come true.
I mean, they didn't
a childhood dream come true.
I mean, really, it is for me for you to have a blend tech as well. After all those Will It Blend videos that we've watched, we should do.
I'm excited for you to have one, Jordan.
Oh, one can only dream. To be blending my every time I get a new iPhone, I'll blend the old one.
Oh God.
Well, hey Amber, what will it blend? That is the question. What are you doing?
iPhone 12.
Stop, no!
No, this is just the Pro Max. Don't worry.
iPhone dust. Watch out for that.
Oh, don't breathe
breathe
that
that
in.
in.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited for my lime Dole Whip.
I'm excited for you, Luke. That's just great.
I'll tell you if it's worth trying.
Please do. You have to share it next week on the podcast. It's the only way it will work.
That's right.
Yeah, man. So I guess we'll go into what we've been watching / playing. It's actually we recorded at a little bit of a shorter duration than we usually do. It's been only a few days since our last recording, so
We've done
this
less.
section.
It's a holiday weekend.
Holiday weekend. We got plans, guys. We got plans. We're just like,
Come on, guys.
what else?
So probably something crazy will happen over the weekend.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. Probably not. But
I did it, guys! I ordered the PlayStation 5! I freaking did it! It happened!
oh man,
Oh man, I keep
that would be
I keep
crazy.
wondering if it's gonna if I'm gonna get the email live on podcast.
Oh,
Hold on, everyone! You just hear the manic.
I do have to say I've started to step up my Xbox pursuit.
What are you doing?
So I'm googling Xbox more often throughout the days, just to see, just like checking the Google News, just to like see if any breaking thing has come out. I know there's much better ways, Twitter and all that stuff, but I don't know. I'm just like, I don't trust the Target, Best Buy email coming in.
Oh, geez, Louise. I can only imagine. It's here, guys. Pre-order it now. Like, the pre-order's been live for 3 days. I mean, for me, I'll feel...
They would do me like that,
right.
too. They would.
I'll feel betrayed if they were like 30 minutes late, much less a freaking day. If they were 30 minutes late on that pre-order, I'd be pissed. And that's kind of what I expect. So anyway, I can talk about this forever. Beware. This is the path that I walk is not a path that I would recommend to anyone. Okay, so
it might have to be the only path if you want to get it, though.
That's true.
I don't
Quick
know.
question. This is almost funny. It's like almost kind of serious, but kind of funny. All right, so I'm getting my wisdom teeth removed. I haven't told you this, Luke, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll be getting my wisdom teeth removed. They've been acting up,
Ooh.
I'm very self-conscious about my teeth.
Yeah.
I don't want them to get jacked up. I don't want a domino effect of decay to happen from my wisdom teeth on or whatever. It's not really bad, but I want to get it done sooner.
Starting to hurt.
Yeah, they were starting to hurt. It was just some inflammation, just the way they grew in, and so I'm getting that done this month. And my joke has been, oh my God, this whole PlayStation 5 thing. It's making my blood pressure go up. So my consultation,
Probably
my
true.
consultation at the oral surgeon, they said, "Wow, your blood pressure's pretty high." And I was this close to telling her, I got a PlayStation 5 I'm waiting on.
Oh, you're having a child? No. It's a new console generation.
I'm sure.
Oh, as her eyes roll so far back in her head, they get stuck forever.
So we're going to cancel your appointment.
Oh.
We only schedule adults here on their own.
One of those, like, the first O's like, oh, and then the second O is they realize what you just said.
My God.
Oh. I will not be asking you any more questions.
Lord have freaking mercy on my soul.
It's important, people.
Come on, it's important.
It's important to me.
But seriously, if you see me check my phone, I'm very interested in this spoiler cast that we're gonna get into here on Tenet. So don't be offended if I might look at a email here and there. Anyways, let's get into it. Watching / playing. I think it's and listening to. So music.
Yeah, I think it's
All
you.
right, it's me. All right, so band I keep coming back to every now and then. Sometimes there's not a lot of new music in my life. I mean, I have my go-tos here and there, but a band that I've been going back and forth on is Royal Teeth. Royal Teeth is like a pop rock band. They're interesting. It's a girl and guy duo. I just enjoy them. Their latest album that I'll get the name of real quick. The latest album titled Hard Luck. It's a lot of fun. It came out last year. This isn't super new, but give it a listen. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of crazy, but it's definitely a lot of pop, but it's fun stuff. I recommend it. That's me. How about you, Luke? What are you listening to, man? Jesse's Girl 3?
I'm just gonna mention the one. I'm just gonna mention the one I told you. I just saw this. The band Camino is a band that I've been digging for at least a couple of years now. They kind of throwback to kind of the stuff we grew up with. And they're very similar to a band they just teamed up with, which is All Time Low, which is one we know from back in high school,
back in the day,
15 freaking years ago. But yeah, the band Camino did a like mashup. I don't know what you call it, but featuring the band Camino is what it says. But Favorite Place is the name of the song. Yeah, so the song is by All Time Low, but featuring the band Camino. And
look it up.
Those are two things I enjoy. So
the band Camino.
A good crashing of two worlds.
What's the song called again?
Favorite Place.
Man, they team up with a lot of different artists, it seems.
Yeah.
So it seems.
These guys are really good.
Favorite Place. Okay. I'll listen to that song. Faux show, because you didn't let me down with Jesse's Girl 2. I had fun with that song that you recommended last week.
It's more funny than anything.
I mean, it's
else,
very
honestly.
funny, but it's also a good song. I like Coheed, you know?
There's just kind of silly about it in the lyrics, too. That's what I like.
Definitely. I mean, they're having fun with it, obviously. They're maybe a little self-aware.
Oh,
I only have really one thing to talk about. Again, it's only been like a few days, so I haven't really done much new, but I have made a decision. I don't think I'm going to play through the Tomb Raider games. I'm like halfway through Rise of Tomb Raider, but it just struck me where I was just kind of playing. I was like listening to other things and just had a YouTube video going on during, and I was like, man, how much am I enjoying it? Is this worth it for me? I said it last week, the whole great being the enemy of good, where in your personal life that might be something to take to heart and to be like, okay, lower your expectations. But in this case, there's so many great games out there that I'm like, I'd rather be playing this, I'm just gonna go ahead and play this instead. So I'm gonna cut that off. I don't know what I'm gonna be playing, but yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be playing that. But anyways, I enjoyed the first one. I enjoyed enough of what I played, but I'm probably just not gonna continue.
Don't do anything you're not enjoying, is what I say.
Yeah, and it's fine. It's not like when you spend money on a game, a lot of time there's the whole, well, I should probably try to get my money's worth here. These are games I've gotten for free, either through PlayStation Now or PlayStation Plus. So I'm fine kind of just being like, I'm done. And that's fine.
They're all on Game Pass, too.
Yeah,
so.
These are games that are highly accessible, low bar of entry. You can pick them up and put them down at your leisure at this point, basically. Not to diss on what they've done at Square Enix. It's just not what I'm feeling right now, I guess. So the only thing that we're doing a spoiler cast. We're not doing news today. So I'll talk about this a little bit. What I've watched was a Nintendo Direct that dropped today. I was whining and complaining yesterday, rightfully so, not yesterday, but last episode, about how really we have no idea what Nintendo's doing right now. There's no big announcements. There's nothing big that we're anticipating or waiting for, and I think that's most.
Well, Switch Pro.
It's
still rumors,
yeah, it's still shrouded.
I would say it's probably pretty likely.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, that sounds pretty awesome. But I think that's mostly the case too, still, even with what I'm about to say. But this did make me very happy. They released a Nintendo Direct today. They didn't hype it up or anything. It's just rumors swirling around it, and it ended up being true that we got a Mario 35-year anniversary. What that entails is just a lot of Mario stuff dropping. I mean, we talked about this probably several months ago, about the rumored 35-year collection of Mario. So yeah, that ended up being real. And honestly, as far as collections go, in comparison to a lot of the other collections that are going on right now, it's pretty minuscule. Honestly, it's really, really slight. It's Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy, and they're up-resed. They're rendered at in HD, and they're have some adjustments made to make them perform a little bit better on the Switch. And so when you compare it to a lot of the other remasters and re-releases that have come out, what comes to mind is the Master Chief Collection, the fact that it got a real updated version of Combat Evolved, and of course Halo 2. where they're redone pretty much. All the assets are
Yeah.
redone. And then you got stuff like the Spyro collection.
big upgrade.
Yeah. In the Crash Bandicoot collection where they're completely redone. You would think that I'd be looking at this and being like, I am so freaking excited for this Mario collection. Isn't that the strange thing about it? What is it about these games? What is it about Nintendo? I don't understand it, because honestly, if it was anything else,
It's nostalgia, right?
a lot of it is nostalgia. I mean, the strange thing too is I'm also excited because Mario Sunshine is a part of that. I've never played Mario Sunshine. It's just a game that I never got for myself when the GameCube was out. Never got it. So, I've obviously played 64 and Galaxy to death. I'm excited to play those again, and I'm excited to see them with just a little bit of that upgrade of them being rendered at like in HD. But for some reason, I am so excited. And they also announced Mario 3D Land coming in. I'm so excited about that too. It's just...
So how does that work, that upresing? Did they explain that at all?
I have no idea how it works. It's like how... there's a lot of remasters that came out that way last gen. I mean, this gen has been very much about like taking the game and making it almost like look new. But back in like the 360 and like the PlayStation 3, it's basically they take the same assets, clean them up, and make them rendered in 1080p. They did it with some stuff like Devil May Cry with the HD collection, and they did it with, I think, Ratchet and Clank with a HD collection. Metal Gear Solid, there was just a ton of those coming out, and Nintendo has never really jumped on that bandwagon. And so there are these games that's the thing about them. I think that's why some of it's so exciting. There's these games that we love, but they're stuck. They're stuck in ways that other games aren't. Like Metal Gear Solid. You can play Metal Gear Solid 1 on just about anything. Same thing with Metal Gear Solid 2. A lot of these Crash games, they're emulated and ported all over the place. I got the PlayStation Classic. That was like, oh, here's Metal Gear Solid. Oh, here's Final Fantasy 7. It's just like these games are everywhere. But Nintendo is different. And just because they do it this way, it's making us freak out over games that are just given to us. Like, I'm not going to plug in my GameCube and go out and buy a used copy of Mario Sunshine. I'm just not going to do that. But to have them on the Switch and have them portable and have them given, it just fills me with excitement. I was just so happy, so exciting. I was like literally watching this trailer, or like doing that thing where you kind of like bounce up and down in your seat a little bit. But I'm super excited about that. I mean, there's other stuff that they announced. Like, they announced like a ton of Mario stuff. They announced this weird like Mario Kart AR experience that I'm not going to get because it's too expensive. But like, it's like a RC car that has a camera attached, and it connects to your Switch, and you set up these like checkpoints, and it creates a lap around like your house or your cul-de-sac or whatever, and it's really cool. And you play it on your Switch, and you like see all like the NPCs, and you can actually play Mario Kart but with this RC. It's crazy. And as I said, Super Mario 3D World, they announced that they released Mario All-Stars on the Switch for free today if you have the online stuff. And just stuff like that. But I thought it had a really good reaction from a lot of people watching it. Great vibes on Twitter for people who were looking forward to it. And I'm a part of that. It's just funny to think how different it is with Nintendo. You get, like, if they announced, like, for instance, Resident Evil.
How much forgiveness they're given for it as well, I would
absolutely.
say.
And there's a lot of people who are expecting, me included, to get like a version of Super Mario 64 that was like in the same engine as Super Mario Odyssey, looking good as crap. And we didn't get that. And if it was anything else, like if it was, I don't know, if we were expecting like a Resident Evil collection to come out, we'd be expecting like, oh, they're going to be Resident Evil 1, that remaster, they're going to be Resident Evil 2, the one that, and the 3, and then it comes out and it's just the originals kind of up-resed. Man, people would not be excited about that at all. They'd be like, all right, sure, I mean, we have...
And that's what Capcom was doing for a while, too.
Yeah, exactly.
People were not happy with
that's
them.
what they do. That's what they're going to continue to do, but Nintendo doesn't really do that. Like, to really, I'm trying to think of any time they've never like, okay, well, I guess that's not the case. I mean, with the original Mario All-Stars, they took Mario 1, Mario 2, and Mario 3, and they remade them on the Super Nintendo with Super Nintendo graphics and sounds how you'd expect like a Super Nintendo game to be. But recently, in like the 3D generation, they haven't just really done much of that to take an old game and say, okay, we're gonna redo this and do it from the ground up. I'm trying to think of if they've done that before. It hasn't even been the case. I just don't think that's. Yeah.
Didn't they do a remaster of Wind Waker?
It's a definitive edition. It's the HD edition. It is the same game.
Yeah.
It looks great. I will say, like, something about that game.
That's what I
They
remember.
took it and they just polished it up, made it put in HD. Something about that art style, it just really like lent itself to like being in HD, and it looks great.
Well, also the new Zelda game, right? That was a whole remake as well.
Which one?
The one that came out earlier this year. What was it? It was the old Zelda.
That's 100% correct. Yep, that's one. Yeah, that's completely correct. That is complete.
Because that was like a big deal. Everyone was like, "Wow, they remade this so well. Now I can experience it, even though it's so old and so crappy. It's nice to come back and have it be like updated."
Yeah,
you know?
That's a great example.
It was kind of unaccessible because of how old it was.
Gotta whip out your Game Boy Color. It's not optimal, and that's a great example. They have done that. Pokemon.
What was the name of that one?
That is, my gosh, Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that was great. But you know what? I'm happy with what we're given here. I think it's just great for me to be able to play them and play them portably. I mean, that is a great thing, just to be in the bathroom playing games like that.
Specifically the bathroom.
Specifically. I mean, almost kind of seriously when you're in the bathroom or you're on a drive.
Got to buy that second switch that doesn't leave the toilet.
Yeah, I remember when I saw like the original Switch trailer, and you see like the girl who's like at a party off on a rooftop in a basketball court, and you're like, I'll never do any of that. I've done some of that, like not on a party or a basketball court, but I've actually been like waiting for my wife to get out of an appointment. I went to like the duck pond and like sat at a picnic table and like played outside, and it was actually really freaking cool to do that. But yeah, anyways, Mario. And the crazy thing about that is usually when Nintendo announces something like that, you're like, you can expect that in a year or something like that. It's coming out in 2 weeks, so that's really cool. That's really cool. Very excited. Anyways,
that is nice.
That's what I got. What about you, Luke?
I have two things.
Oh, all right.
This is actually one that I hadn't mentioned. Well, I'll mention the first one. So we're going back and watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, kind of the same way we were watching Parks and Rec. I think I'd mentioned this before, but we're more regularly going back and watching. I think we actually started season 2 or something. I'd like to go back from the very beginning. That's a show much in the same way Parks and Rec has great replayability. Brooklyn Nine-Nine does as well. Just good writing, great cast. So, yeah.
100%.
Shout out to them. I think there was something in the news about how the next season was going to be delayed because of COVID, like even more than they thought. So, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that in the news. But I think a lot of production studios are trying to ramp up, and there's roadblocks and that. So that's sad. But I don't think I mentioned this. Maybe stop me if I have. But Ted Lasso, we've been watching on Apple TV Plus. Did I mention that before?
You have not.
So Jason Sudeikis stars in a show about an American football coach, going over to England and coaching a premiership soccer team. And he knows nothing about soccer. He knows nothing about England. So he goes over there, and he's got this assistant coach that's the very stoic, kind of knows everything kind of guy that plays well off of him. And Jason plays Ted Lasso, who's this very likable, just friendly, like look at the the bright side of life in every situation kind of guy. And it does, like somebody else was talking about it on another podcast, and they put it in a way that I thought was good. It's just like, at first it may be like kind of annoying, but it wears on you in a good way, if that makes sense, after a while, and you just kind of come around to him. It just, I don't know. He's just kind of a silly, not so much silly. He's very like sweet and nice, like almost to an extreme. There's kind of a funny thing where they says like his wife's talking about their marital problems, and he's just like, "You look on the bright side of life so much, it's just sickening." And that kind of sums up the Ted Lasso character very well. So this is, I would say, this is one of the better shows that's come out on Apple TV Plus. I enjoyed stuff about different shows. I think I talked about Little America a little bit, and that took some really unique points of views, and made them into these little short 40-minute episodes. So I really enjoyed that. I would recommend it. But this one, this one's really good. It's it's not, it's another one that's not going to be like the talk of the town or anything. But I would definitely recommend, if you have a chance to watch this. It's a well worth the time show. It's interesting. They're taking the release, I think, weekly approach. So slowly putting them out. They've already announced season 2. I think we're 5 episodes in at this point. It's got a pretty good storyline, and I'd say Jason Sudeikis does really well in it. So worth a watch for sure.
Cool. What was the name of the show again?
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. Okay. All right. Yeah, check it out on Apple TV Plus. Cool. All right. Is that all you got, Luke?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start our Tenet review. Should we say a prayer? Or should we pause and do 10 years of research, or should we? I don't know what. But all right, I've been kind of
becomes physics masters first, and then we'll come back and explain
get into
everyone.
Quantum physics. Oh man, I've actually been racking my brain in the days leading up to this podcast just to be like, God, what? Help me understand this thing. Ah, man.
So, just I don't know. Just let me just add something here. It's just I for a long time now, since I was in high school, for some weird reason, and not this certainly makes me no expert in any way, but there's something about, and I know this is going to sound weird, something about quantum physics that actually has really intrigued me for a long time. And I've actually, when I was at Southeastern, the college I went to, I would actually go into the library and read books on it. It's I don't know. It's amazing when you get down to the theories and stuff. There's so much about quantum physics that is not understood, and I certainly don't understand the stuff that is understood. But there's a very interesting relationships between gravity and time, and all the different. So yeah, I don't know how much to get into it, but it's just very interesting. So this movie was interesting in 2 different ways for me, where I was very excited, of course, because it was a Christopher Nolan movie. I think he just, whether or not he makes a good movie, he works really hard at making an epic experience with a very interesting story. I mean, I don't think you could say any of his movies have not been that. Now, whether or not they were good movies in the end, that's up for debate, but he works really hard at creating, with practical effects, I will say as well, which I think is a lost art in so many movies nowadays. And what also, of course, drew me to this movie is John David Washington, which just, I don't know. It's just, I'm connected to that man. I enjoy the way he acts. So, and of course, it's interesting to see Robert Pattinson in yet another role, as he just, goes in all kinds of crazy directions now. I think he may be the next big thing around Hollywood. So he could be a leading man for years to come, along with John David. He's really good. So, well,
let's before we get into the movie itself, for the anyone who's listening or watching, let's kind of feel out the room, Luke. What is okay? So I think it's safe to say that we both think Christopher Nolan is a genius, and he's just one of the greatest filmmakers of our time, if not the. But as far as his movies are concerned, where do your opinions lie? Not we have to give a review of each one, but maybe what is your favorite and maybe your least favorite?
Ooh, let me go to the list so I can have a list to look at. So we're talking Memento, we're talking Interstellar, just so people kind of know what we're talking about. The Prestige, Dunkirk, Inception, Dark Knight, obviously. I mean, all the Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. Those are the big ones. There's some other ones, but I think those are the ones people are going to know. I don't know, man. I enjoy all his movies on some
Yeah.
level, and some of them I think are some of the greatest things ever set to film. I think Inception is one of the best movies ever made. I love that movie. I think the concept worked so well in that movie. It just, oh, I love that movie in so many ways. And I really like Memento. I feel like it was kind of a precursor for what he did in Inception. You know, two different concepts, but similar idea and like storytelling and like moving time around inside of the way a film is
Yeah.
edited. Interstellar, I really enjoyed. But yeah, for the most part, they're pretty much 7 and up for me on all these movies. The Prestige, honestly, it's a really cool movie. I don't know why I didn't enjoy it as much.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I haven't seen it in a while, so I probably should watch it again.
100%.
Where are you at, Jordan? with all
It's hard to say. You honestly, it's like warts and all. Probably one of my favorites. Still, Batman Begins. Like warts and all. The ending I think is a little sloppy, but I think it's just it's like a perfect origin story for Batman. I think it's just fantastic. Obviously, the other Batman movies are fantastic too, and I think I'm with you. Probably technically, I think is best. Like if I had to just look at it as like not my favorite, but what is the best? It probably is Inception. Probably, I think in the lower rung is probably Insomnia. I think it's a good movie. Like it's a fine movie. It's just, honestly, if you didn't know it was a Christopher Nolan movie and you watched it, you'd be like,
He actually did not write the story.
oh,
for
really?
that
So
movie.
he just directed it. That might have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I was looking at the writing credits when I was yeah.
So it's not in the same way Christopher Nolan work that these other ones are, where it's
Yeah.
just like, this is going to have my fingerprints all over it. And I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can kind of see that. I mean, it's well directed and it's a good movie. It's just not in the upper echelons, I guess, of everything else. And maybe the fact that he didn't have the writing on it is why.
Not having written it, yeah, that does change a
Yeah,
lot.
it changes your connection with the story and I guess how you would
Yeah.
direct it. And so maybe that's why it's
Mm-hmm.
probably, I think most people would agree with that. One of his lesser works, but still a good movie. So that says a lot. But yeah, I think he's fantastic. And so we got this new one here, and oh my gosh, I got the IMDb pulled up because I'm gonna need all the help I can get. So if I'm referring to IMDb to remember like actors' names, and
Did you know he wrote the story for Man of Steel?
I knew he helped on it. I didn't know he.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I know he was on the. He has some writing credits on it. Yeah, he worked with
That's
Snyder.
interesting.
Okay, let's jump in. We're gonna, before we go into spoilers, kind of give a non-spoiler review first, and then we'll dive into spoilers. And the funny thing is, I think usually a lot of times if you go back and listen to some of our spoiler casts, a lot of the times we'll say, "Wow, this movie's really hard to talk about without spoiling it." I think it's the opposite with this one. I'm gonna have a harder time getting into the nitty-gritty of this one, but an easier time.
You may not be spoiled if you watch this
Yeah.
movie.
That's one way to solve it.
You may come out of this movie saying, "What?"
Exactly. So,
Because I know my wife did.
pardon? I'm halfway
He definitely
there.
started to glaze over in some sections.
I'm halfway there. I'm gonna say like I was feeling some anxiety, like maybe not hardcore anxiety, but I was feeling some tension in the movie theater. I don't generally do this. I took a notepad and a pencil with me to the movie. I haven't done this in a very long time. It's not really my style, and I thought to myself, man, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of details in this movie that I'm going to want to jot down. Forget it. Freaking forget it. Like probably 20 minutes in, I put that notepad, like the pencil down in resignation to be like, nope, that's not gonna happen. It's like, because basically by the time I was done processing and writing down one plot point, we're on to the next two maybe. This thing goes by like a freight train.
There's a lot of moving characters in this movie.
Yeah.
That's for
I'll go ahead
sure.
and give the IMDb plot to kind of set us off on our non-spoiler review before we go into our spoiler cast. All right, armed with one word only, Tenet. In fighting for the survival of the entire world, a protagonist journeys through a twilight world of international espionage on a mission that will unfold in something beyond real time. There it is. Well, okay.
There it is.
There it is. That's that's I guess the best they can really do to sum up, or else you're just kind of going into spoiler territory. So, Luke, how did you feel in coming out of this movie?
I mean, it's a mind bender. It's definitely one that you think back on and try to like piece together. Okay, wait, how did this happen? Why did this character say this to this character? And I enjoy those kind of things. It's cool to me to think about the concepts that he laid out with this nuclear fission, I guess, radiation that can affect time. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler, but somehow you're able to manipulate time, and it's just interesting to me, like, how would that actually work? That's the kind of stuff where I honestly want to read about it and see, like, is that actually something that could be anywhere in the realm of possibility? Because obviously it's one of those concepts to where you just kind of blow it off and like, well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Which it probably is, but I don't know. It's just, we're in our world today, we've reached this point where it feels like technology could do so many things. So you start to kind of wonder, like, I don't know if, if our entire world can be run by machines, is time travel in the realm of possibility?
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting for Christopher Nolan to say, it almost feels like, I know this is weird to say, but you know how people started doing those reverse videos on Instagram?
Yeah, the boomerang or
TikTok or whatever. Yeah. Well, not just the boomerangs, but the ones where they'll actually like film an entire like minute-long thing and then do everything in reverse.
Okay, yeah.
Like somebody will like jump into a pool and it'll show like them under the water and then they suck up. It almost feels like Christopher Nolan watched that and was like, huh.
Yeah.
And like then started coming up with this whole concept, because that, plays out throughout the movie and, for a very significant purpose. Yeah, it's cool for me to think about it, because I don't think I could ever come up with a storyline like this. It just, yeah, it's so interesting. I don't know. That's the best word for this entire movie to me. It's just, it does a lot of cool things. I don't think it does anything extraordinarily well, but it does so many new things in cool ways that are entertaining, fun to watch.
I agree. I mean, definitely entertaining, and again, as I said, this movie moves at a clip. It's constantly going, and how kind of what I feel. Most movies, like a lot of times, their best stuff is towards the beginning. A lot of stuff, it's where the movie's moving. It's really moving, and you're like, okay, and then it slows down in the middle part of the movie, and that's a lot of the times that's where most people complain about the movie. To say, oh, it really gets kind of boring and kind of gets bogged down in the middle.
Yeah.
I almost feel like it's the opposite with this movie. It has a great intro, and from that intro, which is boom, 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 you're in one location, you're in that location of characters telling you this thing, and you're meeting this other character, and you're like, oh my God. And when it
and then I would say it had a very strong ending as well.
Yes, I would say that too. Once it got to the middle portion, where the confusion and like the plot points coming at you doesn't really go away, but it does slow down at a certain point in the movie. And I'll talk about what that point is.
I don't know if you experienced this as well, but I had an issue with the mix where sometimes it would be hard for me to understand what he was saying, because the background like orchestral mix that, Christopher Nolan is a staple of his movies. It was so loud that it was hard to like tell the name or like the location or something that he was saying. I'm like, what? Which is weird because the volume was so loud in that theater.
Oh yeah, and I think Nolan dictates that it's going to be so, and it happens in like almost every single one of his movies. Maybe not like some of his earlier stuff, but I feel like lately you'll have the score, and he always has this like droning score. Dunkirk,
crazy loud.
Batman,
Interstellar.
Dark Knight Rises. You're like, what did he just say? They have like these droning scores, which it should be said, this is like one of the first that Hans Zimmer did not work on. But it's usually this and then like the characters like expositing during that time, like in crucial plot points that sometimes they will not revisit. So if you missed it, sorry, it's over and you missed it. And you have to pick it up through context clues,
I remember there was a part, I think it was at the end of The Dark Knight. Is it The Dark Knight where he has the machine that can see everyone from their cell phone pings? Yes. Yeah. There's a part at the end where he's talking to I can't remember the character's
Alfred.
name, but he's talking to
Lucius Fox.
He's talking to him. Yeah, Fox, and he's talking to him, and the music's like getting so loud. It's like, what? You want to be like, if you're in the corner of the room, like, what? What'd you say?
Probably, if you saw it with an older person, they'd be tempted to do that.
And I feel like I have pretty good hearing too, and I hate complaining about this because I feel so freaking old saying this stuff. But like, I really do think it's the mix, it's the editing, because I don't have problem like, you know, we're talking about Ted Lasso. Like, I don't have any problem picking up all that because there's not like this, what is an awesome music. Like, I love the music over it. It's just like, maybe wait for that to fade in until after you say, you know, this dude's coming to kill me. Like, maybe I want to know that instead of boom.
Some part of me, I would like to know what you think about this, Luke. Part of me almost think Christopher Nolan makes his movies with the intention of you to watch it multiple times to understand it fully. I think he's more interested almost in the trick, in obscuring that trick from you, rather than you kind of.
So the prestige is his filmmaking.
Honestly, yeah, I think
the turn.
Seriously, I think he does have something to do with like really like thinking about his movies as a magic trick to be like, what can I do?
I can see that.
I want this to go by fast, maybe, so you don't catch it, so you don't see what's coming. I just talked about New Mutants the other day, and this is like, it was like watching a buffoon magician with like cards hanging out of his like sleeve, and it was like that. And this is like,
then you watch a film like Memento, and it's like, oh my gosh,
you don't see.
I don't even want to know what the storyboard looked like behind the scenes for this thing.
And so we got sleight of hands. We're distracting you with quick cuts. The plot's going by fast. We're not staying put for too long, and so we're using sleight of hand. And so when we get to the point at the end, you didn't see it coming. And so, and we can, I guess, debate on whether that makes for an entertaining movie. If for so much of the movie you feel like you're missing something or you didn't pick up on something.
To like agree with what you're saying, I think it's so cool when a movie takes you on a journey to where at the end, when there's the reveal, you're kicking yourself because it's like, oh, I could have seen that. But the way they told the story, it distracted me from that. And I wasn't thinking in that context. And like, it's so obvious now looking back on the movie, but that's really good. Yeah. And I felt like that with this movie. That's what I like the ending so much. It's like, oh man, that's so obvious, but so brilliant at the same time.
Yeah, and that's often like kind of how his movies ends. We're like, oh, okay. So a couple basic things about the movie, I guess, before we go into spoilers. Like, I mean, I think this is a good action movie. I think he knows how to film action. I love how the fight choreography is in this. How you feel like these characters are just slick. That's how I would like. But from the first fight scene, the first action scene, honestly, in the beginning, I was like, wow, the main character of this movie doesn't actually have a name. he straight up
the antagonist,
the protagonist. You just see him, and he's like slick. The way he moves, the way he slides into cover, you're like, wow, this feels like, it's live action, but it like feels like almost like a video game, and it's like there's no CG or anything like that, but just how slick characters move sometimes, you're like, wow, the precision is just. It's really cool to watch, and I enjoy it.
It reminds me of what they did with James Bond, with Daniel Craig, how they like modernized him and made him more of like a soldier, but also a spy at the same time. It's like John David was kind of that person. He's like this gentleman, but also he's definitely a soldier, as they show you right in the beginning. It's like he's not to be trifled with. Yeah, he's very like 007-esque. It's a good character.
Yeah. Speaking of a character, like, I think that this isn't a movie about character. A lot of Nolan's movies aren't. Like, for instance, honestly, like a movie like especially Dunkirk. It's about the process. It's about emotions. It's about the story and you being there. Not so much about the setting and all that stuff. Not so much about the character. And that's fine. If it's a plot-oriented movie, that's fine. But, you have to have characters that you can at least, like, tag along with, and I think they did a good job of that here. I enjoy the protagonist and I always messed up his name.
The most they did with the character development would be Leonardo in the Inception.
Yeah.
That was the most he's ever probably developed a character
Yeah.
and backstory and all
I would
that.
argue maybe McConaughey and in Interstellar, maybe, and obviously like the Batman movies. I think he did some of that. But honestly, other than that, yeah, I completely agree. Every character is more functional than actually digging into them. There's probably one character where the source of all the heart comes from in this movie. That being said, though, I never really. It's easy for a movie when it doesn't like really have much character in it for it to feel cold, and I don't feel like this movie felt cold. I felt like it had enough personality to where I kind of felt the people in it, even if I didn't they weren't fleshed out characters that I could say a lot about.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, also, I didn't want to bring up that we talked about the volume, and it's I've seen a couple movies in theaters so far. It was as I brought up Peninsula and New Mutants. Seeing a Nolan movie in theaters and being like, oh my god, at the first gunshot,
We're back.
It is
That's what
that.
I felt like.
It's that we're back.
So glad I didn't watch this at home.
Yeah, when I'm feeling my seat kind of rumble from the bass, it's
my
cool.
gosh.
Obviously, if you don't feel safe and you're not healthy, don't go. But if you're good, it's great. It's a great movie going experience. It's really cool, especially if you have a nice theater, which we have a pretty nice theater that we go to, and it felt good, man. It was really cool.
Yep, event films
for sure. Yeah. I don't have much else to say. I think that without going into spoilers. Do you, Luke?
No. Let's get into the nitty gritty.
Okay, so this is your spoiler warning. We're going to go into full spoilers right now. We're going to try to break down this thing as much as I can. We're going to try to probably ask each other some questions. Probably me mostly asking Luke questions about what's.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that, but we'll try. All right, so Tenet spoilers a go. What? Okay, so
I love reverse fighting.
Reverse fighting is crazy. I don't know how he did that. I just don't know how. I was watching it being like, this is awesome. How did he do this? Yeah. How did he do it? I mean, obviously you see a movie like Doctor Strange. They did this. A movie that's where they're fighting forward, but everything else is going in reverse. CGI.
And there's no green screens in this entire movie.
No green screens.
So none of that is CGI, and how in the world?
How? I mean, I'm not to
so
discredit
I guess someone
Doctor
had
Strange.
to
That's
do
awesome.
that.
But what's going on in this? I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't really understand how someone could have moved in reverse like that during that, like specifically during that fight in the airport. Like when he's fighting hand in hand, there's like that one shot of them fighting through the hallways. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah. If anything, it's just testament to good filmmaking.
Yeah, because like I would say like it's just a great choreography. A lot of that had to be like you have to learn how fighting in reverse would look like and learn these moves, and because he had to do it.
But how could your body even bend that way?
I don't know.
Like if you do a front flip off a wall or a back flip, whatever he's doing, how in the world can you bend the other way and like get your legs to like? It just doesn't seem like your center of gravity would allow you to do that. That's why it's like it feels like those parts had to be filmed and then reversed.
It does feel that way.
But he's moving forward, so maybe he did it. Maybe his movements, because there's that one part where he like flips over him while he's like there. So maybe he moved in reverse standing while the other guy did like a front flip, and then they just like reversed and cut it in. That's the only way I can imagine they did it.
Oh, jeez.
It's so cool.
It's very cool. I think the whole effect is done really well. And do you think, based on how much you see it in the trailer, like the first trailer, do you think that we get that enough?
You mean like hand to hand?
Well, I just mean,
or just like the whole idea of like
the whole idea of
inverted.
inversion. Do you think we get inversion enough?
Yeah. I would say so. I mean, I feel like it just slowly ramps up more and more. That's what I like about it. I almost wish there'd been like a little more of that like beginning part where he's like seeing things inverted, kind of out of the corner of his eye sort of thing.
You're like, wait, something's going on here.
Because it almost felt like that whole reveal was almost a little quick. I thought that intro scene was just the best. It reminded me of Inception
I do love
so
the intro
much.
scene.
It's like it reminded me of like you have to learn to dream a little bit better. It reminded me of that whole scene where they're like barricading the wall in and all the guys are coming to fight him. But yeah, it was a great intro to it. I still am not sure what was happening there. I'm still a little confused who that guy was, the guy asset that they were taking out. And, yeah.
100%.
I still am not sure how that plays into the main story. And I feel like by the end of the movie, I realized that, and I told my wife this, I thought one of the coolest things about this movie was that it felt like Christopher Nolan didn't waste any scenes in the entire movie.
That's for sure.
If you're able to like go back and like, which is hard, go back and like realize what was happening, it was like, oh my gosh, every scene played into something that they did later. The inversion like played into those parts, you know, that he saw later, like when she's standing there with the kid and like saying goodbye, and then, you know, later she's able to make the phone call and deal with that. It's like that was literally, you know, preemptively showing you what was going to come next, and you just didn't realize it because you didn't understand at that point. Yeah, I think that stuff's so clever.
I'm looking forward to seeing it again and seeing that stuff that like it flew by quickly, but it was there. That's the thing. I feel like a lot flies by quickly, but it is all there. It's very complete, and there's a lot that's going to be unraveled. And probably, honestly, I think people will hold it in a higher regard as people see it and see it again and again and again. And it goes on to home release. Home release, I think, is where this movie, if not for, you know, obviously the sound and everything, but for the plot and all the understanding of it and the kind of genius is how he's laid it all out. I think it'll get a lot of more understanding and people unveiling stuff about it. So
just some great action scenes, like you were saying, like when they're rappelling off the side of the building. Like I remember seeing that in the trailer and thinking that was awesome, and it was awesome.
So slick.
It just, there's so many cool things. Like he loves to, like, for instance, this is one of the things that I think makes Christopher Nolan brilliant. So you take, you know, some other filmmaker who, you know, let's just say they're good, they make films, and they say, okay, we need a scene in which the character is making a transition. You know, he's assumed dead, he's now a part of this program, and he's going to somehow transition into the world. And so Christopher Nolan wants to use these grand places where these sweeping shots will be beautiful. Mm-hmm. And he picked those windmills, and they took him out on a boat, which was just a cool like thing. And I think it was, I'm saying preemptively. What I meant is foreshadowing. I think it's foreshadowing the whole part where he's on the boat and the boat's inverted with the girl later. You know, they're on their way back. And I think that whole thing was foreshadowing that, and that's really cool. Whereas, you know, another filmmaker, he could have picked anything. They could have picked some room like they did in what's it, Casino Royale, when he's getting beaten up. Like they just picked like a bland concrete room, and you know, that's fine. That works for that movie. But I think it's cool how Christopher Nolan picks these cool things, and then he gets picked up by a boat, and he's like in this solid. He's by himself, you know, in this little area, and he's working out and he's prepping. He's like preparing his mind for, you know, what he has to do, and then he puts on the high vis and, you know, starts his mission. But I don't know. It's just he has a great way of like picking these places. I think of like at the end of Inception, where it's like that giant base on the snowy mountain. It's just an amazing place to like sum up that whole movie. And so many cool things. That the tower in India, like. Just great location scouting, I guess, would be what I would say to that.
One thing I wish they
sets the mood.
Wish they did what I wish they did with that, and I think that's might be a Nolan thing. He doesn't like using establishing shots to basically say, this is where we are. Here's your shot, just to kind of show you where the characters are and maybe in relation to where they were. And, you know, like as someone like the Russos, they overdo that. Like in a movie like Civil War, they'll like go out of their way to establish where a character is, and Nolan bypasses it completely.
They put like nowhere at the bottom.
My gosh, they love it.
Like, we're on this planet now.
They love it. And and in movies,
Here's Stark Tower.
yeah, and in movies that location hop, I do appreciate it because it does like give me it's like some pins on the map to where my brain can.
Well, with
orient.
that movie, it's especially needed.
Especially, and how what will happen here is they'll be talking to one character and that scene will end and then it'll cut and then he'll walk into a cafe and you're like, oh, we're in London, and we have to like figure that out kind of later.
It's part of the like fast-paced nature of this
filmmaking.
Yeah,
it when you're talking about a character one moment, you're meeting him the very next. It's very quick. And I think in
some scenes, it's even like the conversation's continuing while the next scene is playing out with the voiceover.
And I think this would have benefited a little bit in like the first 20 minutes of a little bit more slowing down, a little bit more of, oh my God, he hates exposition so much in a way. Like it seems like they're sometimes always talking about the plot, but somehow not enough. You know what I mean? To where you're like, wait, what was that again? And there's not a lot of retreading. Sometimes the plot is retread so much in a movie where you're just like, I freaking know. Stop talking about it. Move on with the plot. But in this, it's like, we're doing this. Okay, bye. And you're like, wait, what?
The whole scene where the doctor, whatever she is, scientist, is explaining inversion to him. It's pretty quick. She's like, no small talk, and yep, they stick to that.
This is where my pencil went down, and I said, nope. And I leaned forward, and I was like, okay, here we go. What?
Yep.
What?
Better to just get it out your phone and record the screen.
No freaking crap.
To remember.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. That was a lot. And, you know, they kind of explain this later. We talk about the protagonist a little bit.
Kind of.
Well,
explain
what I'm about to bring up, the fact that like the protagonist is very quick to accept this. I think he's like, how is this possible? You know, he's very much like, what? At first, and it's not how.
I think that's part of him being a soldier, though.
Yes.
His character is a soldier. He's learned to not only obey commands but not ask too many questions because, you know, time is important in, you know, soldiers' world.
They do a good job explaining that later, because in the moment I was like, are you freaking kidding me? If that was me, I'd be like asking so many questions. But he's asking questions that pertain to his job. He's not asking questions like, how is this, like, you know, well, he does ask how is this possible, but
it's just like, I'm not seeing an apocalypse.
Yeah, I'm not seeing an apocalypse here. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll get into that, what the apocalypse means in this situation. So this is like the part of the movie that I'm talking about where he passes the test, basically going from the CIA to go into this organization. That the organization is called Tenet, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So basically he meets guy number one.
They say, what is Tenet? We are
Tenet. That's right. So he meets guy number one. I don't know his name. And then he tells him he puts him on the path to where he meets the scientist, and then she puts him on another path to where he meets up with Neil. Right? Am I right at this? Am I on point? Right?
Yeah. It felt like the only reason he was going to meet Neil was so that he could get at the like arms deal. Right? That's what it felt like. It was almost like he assumed that Neil was just like a local guy that like worked with him, and it's like, well, set me up a meeting, you know, I don't even need 10 minutes or something like that.
It just moves so quick at this point. This is like the part of the movie where
it's almost like they intentionally did not set up Neil as an important character to like, you know, lure you away from the scent on that kind of thing.
Yes, that's exactly right. You're not supposed to know what Neil's true intentions are until much later in the movie. He's like supposed to be just kind of like a go-to guy, right? At this point.
Yeah. He's just a helper. It feels like.
Yeah, a lot of this is just, and then they meet Pyra, because basically that's who they assume that Pyra is the person who is making the inverted weapons at this point, or that they know who is.
The understanding was that she knew where the metal came from because the metal was signature. Like the only way you could get that type of metal was through India. And they assumed it was a he, but she, probably ended up.
Yeah.
She knew everything basically, but they were assuming that she was just the source of the metal, I believe, at that point.
Okay, so a lot of this is grasping at straws for me. There's points in the movie where there are no straws, and I'm just grasping at air. For me, it went by so quick. The Michael Caine character.
I know.
What did he do?
I know.
I don't understand.
Basically, I feel like he just explained to him how to be a gentleman, and that he shouldn't be wearing Brooks Brothers.
Yeah.
That's all I got away from
Me
that
too.
conversation.
Is that why he met up, to get wardrobe advice?
You need to have an air of a gentleman, and you don't have it, or something, like too much of a soldier.
Yeah. God.
Even though that didn't really seem to be a
No,
problem.
it didn't really play out too much. It's not like he had to fit in high society, like in I don't know. It's not like a Prince and the Pauper situation. And whatever happened,
It almost felt like they thought that the world they were going to be entering with the arms dealer. What is his name?
Andre, yeah,
Andre Sator.
Sator, yeah.
They felt like it was like this, high class, like hubby bubby, like be a gentleman society, and then it ended up, it really wasn't at all the way he got into it. It's like he more had to be like almost like a nitty gritty, like Russian type of, or he wasn't from Russia, Ukraine, like the Ukrainian, like manly, like chop somebody's arm off kind of guy to like get in, after he described how he's going to kill it to him. It was like, okay, this is the world I'm entering.
Yes.
He's going to like choke on his goodies.
And he's also so he is the one who's making a lot of this happen. He's like the point man in this time. But what does the art have to do with any of it? Like there's about something about fake art, how his wife is like a procurer of like art, and she's indebted to him.
Yeah. So I think what it was she bought a forged painting and then got a dealer to sell him that forged painting, and then the money that the dealer made, she was going to split with the wife, and the wife was going to use that money to leave him.
Oh.
Because she needed some money to be independent of him so that she wasn't relying upon him. He found that out and now holds that over her as like, well, if you ever leave me, I'll have you imprisoned for, however long.
I see.
Because of that whole, whatever money laundering deal, whatever you call it.
Because that passed me by, and so whenever they reference it,
it was very confusing, and I'm only partially confident that that's what it was.
Because when they'd bring it up, like after the fact, they'd say something like, "Oh, well, I'll just referencing the painting itself." I'm like, "Well, what's up with the painting? I know it's fake. Is there a magic spell on it or something? What's going on? I don't know." So that helps me greatly, actually.
Because I guess if he had actually destroyed it, like he said he would, then he wouldn't have anything over her at that point, and she could take her son and leave.
Okay, all right.
Which, I mean, he's going to use something. I'm sure he could use something other than the painting.
I know.
Like a gun. Or his power around the world as an international arms dealer.
I know.
It seems a little far-fetched, but, I mean, it was somewhat believable, I guess.
So they have to steal it? What? Okay, so this is where like the heist comes in. Why do they do this?
Yeah,
I have no freaking I know. I have no freaking idea. Well, I was like, why are they there again?
I think the simple version of it when they started was, we need to break in here to take this painting, to destroy it for her as a favor, and then it's still confusing because if they did that, then so that the whole thing seemed to be that so he could get an introduction to her husband.
Okay.
So, but it seems like you'd be on the wrong side of him at that point.
Yeah.
But I guess they were hoping that that he wouldn't know that it was them, and it is, that part is definitely confusing for sure. But I think then they realize that there's something else in that facility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's when, they eventually figure out that there's the machine.
I mean, at this point of the movie, I'm like trying. Okay, it's like I recognize at the point where I'm like, nope, the plot has passed me by for at least why we're here in this moment. It's gone. And so I'm just going to kind of enjoy this heist because it's enjoyable, right? Just the crashing the plane, the fight scene, the whole mechanic where they suck the air out of the room. It's fun. I was having fun with it. Good action, great action there.
It felt like that whole thing was a little forced. It felt like, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it felt like the real parts of the movie that were like super important to the storyline and stuff, it felt like that whole scene was just, I don't know, like they didn't give their A effort on it, if you know what I mean. It's like it really, all of that was just set up so that he could be going in reverse later, inverted back through that
I think so.
situation, and you realize that he ran into himself. But other than that, you don't really feel like what they're doing is important. Like you said, it doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about the reasoning that they're doing it. But then it's really cool later when the reveal is there. It's like, oh, that's so cool. But it's like the whole situation isn't as cool. And I don't know, this is where I feel like Inception did some of those same kind of things, but I felt really good about what they were doing. It made more sense, I guess. If you remember, like the dream and a dream and a dream, there was like all those situations where they're like setting up, but it like made more sense. Like when he's like strapping them with bombs in the room and the room's like tumbling. It's like, this actually makes sense why this is happening. It's not only a cool thing that they're doing, but it also makes sense. And this one, it's the same kind of thing where it's like, this is really cool, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's like a bad idea to make way for a good idea. So they contrive one thing to make one
cool
thing work.
Inside of not so cool of a thing. It's like, this it sounds cool on paper, but I don't know, it feels contrived, I guess would be a way of putting it, when you're actually watching. It's like, well, I don't know.
The purpose for that didn't really justify itself. I definitely was feeling it.
It felt like a plane slowly taxiing into a building. It's like, it would have been cool if you guys had flown it into that, but
maybe a little bit more dramatic, as they would have said. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess he was stuck to the real effects thing too.
Yeah,
you can only do so much with real effects.
That's exactly right. I think Nolan sometimes does need to kind of get over it a little bit and kind of give way to that, because they use a lot of composite effects and like special effects shots in Inception, whereas not so much CGI. There's definitely some CGI there, which really enhanced it. Whereas if he was using models, it may have not looked as cool. Okay, so I feel like at this point in the movie, I feel like I'm a little bit more like anchored in, still confused. But once we meet Sator, I feel like the movie starts to slow down at that point. I don't know. I think in a movie where you establish a villain, it starts to kind of ground itself a little bit, where you're like, okay, there it is. There's the bad guy. Yeah. He's the one we need to stop. Okay, great. Got it. And you can kind of go, and instead the movie feels like more anchored when it has an antagonist you can point to sometimes, especially in these espionage movies,
It felt like they really dragged out you like meeting him.
Oh yeah.
It was almost like this like shadowy figure for a little while.
And it seemed like he could have just walked in.
I was wondering if we were ever going to meet him.
Yeah.
I felt like he was going to be like behind the curtain kind of thing.
And then once you meet him, he's there. He's not like he's trying to be.
Then he's like, he's not shadowy at all anymore. It's just,
it doesn't seem like anyone's trying
there in your face.
He Kenneth Branagh in this role. He's something. He plays it pretty big compared to everyone else in this movie. I mean, he's kind of always gives performances like this that are kind of big acting with a capital A performances, but I found him entertaining. I liked him a lot in this. I mean, you're not supposed to like him; you want him dead, but in that way,
he had this creepy, dark air to him, which I think fit well with the movie.
Yeah, this like simmering anger where he's just like,
you don't know what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
Several times I'm like, is he gonna shoot her? I feel like he's gonna shoot her,
and he does. Eventually,
yeah,
he gets around to it.
I don't really know why in those parts, we're jumping ahead a little bit here, but I'm not sure why in those parts he didn't just kill her.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's a strange one to kind of figure out where he is with her, because it feels like he hates her in some parts, and then in other parts it's like he has a soft spot for her.
Yeah, a lot of it's I think he's super possessive, and it's like he doesn't want
Yeah.
to let go of a thing. That's what she is to him, kind of like more of a thing.
No one can have you.
Yeah.
That whole line.
God.
Yeah, they really impress you on that. And I think that obviously plays into the whole plot of the entire movie. It's like that's the reason why he's willing to end the world, because
Yes.
if he can't have the world, then no one can.
Exactly. I mean,
Very Bond villain.
very. Oh my God. Hardcore. He would fit right in like a Daniel Craig Bond movie or any Bond movie, for instance.
Wasn't he in a Bond movie?
Maybe Kenneth Branagh.
He would definitely be good in one if he hasn't
Oh
been in
yeah,
one.
he'd be right at home. Those.
Oh, he was in Dunkirk. That's right. That's where I know him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has he worked with Nolan beyond Dunkirk? I don't think so. I guess not.
I'm looking through his stuff. I don't see
I mean, he
that.
will now. That's for sure. I mean, when
He was in Harry Potter.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. Mhm.
yeah, he's in those Murder on the Orient Express, and he's gonna be in.
Oh, Wild Wild West.
Oh my God.
He's Dr. Lovelace.
Captain Lovelace. Oh
That's
my God,
right.
He wasn't he?
Ddr. Arliss.
You don't go any bigger than Lovelace and freaking Wild Wild West. It's hard to go bigger than that, isn't it? That is a
great.
big performance.
I completely forgot about that. I know that face now. He didn't have much of a body in that movie, but I know that face.
I did not
great.
expect Wild Wild West to make its way into this podcast.
I know.
But there it is.
I completely forgot. Yeah.
Outstanding.
He should have been in Die Another Day or No Time to Die,
Yeah.
whatever the name of this movie is. He'd be so good in a Bond movie.
He'll work his way into one.
He played this character really well.
Yeah, and there's a lot that you immediately understand here because these are like the human relationships, right, between him and his wife, and it's like, yeah, you kind of get this, you kind of get him, and that kind of helped me a little bit. Even though still, I mean, the plot slowed down a little bit, but still, when things come up, I'm still kind of like, okay, so he thinks that the weapon is like a plutonium at this point. Is that right? That's what the protagonist believes at this point, that whatever's going to trigger this has to do with the plutonium.
Wait, what? I'm confused. Even which part are you talking about?
Isn't he like, okay, I'm going to help you steal
The 241. You're
Yeah,
talking
is that
about.
is that plutonium or is that a bomb? Or is it both?
No, I think it's plutonium.
Okay,
yeah.
so he's like, I'm going to
It's a certain type of plutonium, they say in the one part.
And so he's like, I'm going to help you get this, but it ends up being part of this algorithm thing that we come to find, right?
Yeah, a 9-step algorithm formula.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Formula.
And like, I'm like, how does he get it? Like, when they say algorithm, there's so much things that are like, it's hard to kind of grasp. And so when he says, oh, we're going for the algorithm, like, how do you even go for that? Isn't that just like an equation or whatever? But no, it ends up being like a bunch of bits of garbage. And I'm like, that's the algorithm? And so
that was your impression, that thing at the end was all the parts together?
that was my impression.
Okay. You may be right.
To where they were going to blow it up.
I wasn't completely confident of that.
So they were going to use the bomb to trigger the algorithm. And
they were gonna bury it.
Yeah. And
that's what Tenet was trying to do. They were trying
Tenet
to bury
was trying
it
to bury it, and
originally.
And the team who's trying to destroy the universe or whatever was trying to basically activate it with that bomb. Basically like that.
Like the singularity, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That was confusing. It was very confusing when Aaron Taylor Johnson pointed his gun at him.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what is happening?
Exactly.
And then he wasn't double crossing them. It's like, what?
It's like he explained it after the fact, and he's like, oh, because you have nowhere to seen it, I have to kill. I'm like, oh, okay. So it was super confusing in the moment. And by the way,
None of us can live.
yeah, I had no idea freaking Aaron Taylor Johnson was going to be in this movie. He's kind of disappeared, and I didn't recognize him. I had to like look at him. I was like,
He's so good.
Aaron Taylor
man.
Johnson. He is a good actor.
I don't know why he doesn't get more roles.
I don't know.
Especially plays that. Oh, he was in that soldier movie where he steps on a landmine. That was one I recently saw him in. Or The Wall. No, sorry. He's pinned down behind a wall. There's two movies, and I was getting them confused. But he's pinned behind a wall, and there's a sniper that holds him
I
down.
see. Okay.
It's really cool. You should watch it. It's called
The Wall, not the one with Matt Damon.
No. Oh, good
No.
Not The Wall, Jordan.
So, I mean, a lot of this stuff that happens here, I get, but not fully. It's one of those things where it's like I get the basic idea of what's happening.
A second watch would probably go a long
Oh
ways.
yeah, it's just like the mechanisms in which they pull a lot of this stuff off and how it happens. I'm very confused, but the basic like beats, I'm like, okay, he thinks it's gonna be the plutonium, ends up being a part of the algorithm. That he loses it. She gets shot with the inverted bullet, which is bad. He tries.
I guess because it's passing through you backwards, and so it's a much larger.
Oh yeah.
Like it's the wrong side of the bullet.
Oh God.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's why like where the entry wound would be, it was like really
it was like
bad.
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I guess if the bullet broke up when it went through you, then those severed pieces would be coming back through you again.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. We're justifying things that are confusing and fiction.
Yeah. I mean, all of this is basically just to be an example as to that you can't change anything, right? Because he tries to go back, be like, no, I'm going to get that thing so he doesn't get it. It's my fault that he has it. I'm going to try to get it. And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's basically just to show you, okay, it's that kind of time travel. It's that whatever happened kind of time travel that, you know.
But she didn't kill him in the first time through.
Did she not?
Right?
Or did he always die there?
I don't think she did.
Because he said
that's what's confusing, because she came back to the boat and left her son there, but then she did see him later. You know what I'm saying?
But that's the past one, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's what's confusing.
So confusing.
If she did literally go back in time and change it, then, you know, the future would be different. So in that case, she would have actually changed it. But, you know, is it two different timelines? That's the confusing part.
That is, yeah, exceptionally confusing. And oh boy. I mean,
any type of time traveling movie is just, it's not going to be, you really can't explain it because it's beyond our reality. So
yeah, we're
just making up fiction basically whenever we explain it.
But I will say this is the most confusing time travel movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Bar none. Bar freaking none. I always feel like I have some grasp on what they're doing.
Interstellar was very confusing.
Interstellar was, but like time was only a part of that, which like, but I feel like
it was very important in the ending.
It was very important in the ending.
It was very confusing.
But I feel like constantly in this movie we're meant to understand its time travel mechanism. For like the entire second half, I'm like grappling with the time travel because at first, because in the beginning it's like as we said, the whole inversion thing isn't so prominent in like the first 50% of the movie. It's more like getting the plot going and figuring out where we need to go and getting there.
So this may be a waste of time, but I'm going to try to explain a concept that I've read in my quantum physics books. So the idea of gravity having an effect on time, I think, is partially what Nolan's going with this whole idea that radioactivity could somehow change time. So if you are looking, you know, obviously you can't do this, but if you're looking at someone from here on another planet, and that planet is 10 times the size of Earth, for you, time is moving at a certain time. You know, 1 second equals 1 second for us. Well, that person up there, because the gravitational pull of that planet is much stronger, time will move faster for them. So for every second, they basically, you let's say theoretically you could actually see them. You would see them age at 10 times the rate of what we're aging here because of that gravitational pull.
Okay. Scary.
And that's what's super confusing. So I guess the idea is that the radioactivity of this certain radioactive isotope will somehow be able to reverse time when it is embedded inside of the material of a bullet, a gun,
okay.
whatever it is. And so the thing that doesn't make any sense is how are you activating it? Because it almost feels like you're activating it with your mind, which is some X-Men stuff, and it's just complete
Where it's like,
fiction.
oh no, you have to be
It's not
dropping
based on
it.
anything.
I'm like, wait, what? If you haven't done that,
Yeah,
it was...
that's the part
What?
that they didn't explain at all. Exactly.
That's where my mind went.
Like I can buy that there's some type of material that if embedded inside the metal could change something, because that, the fact that gravity can change time, it's like, okay, so that is a real concept that, time changes differently in our galaxy depending on the rate of gravitational pull. So that's interesting. They didn't explain how you're able to activate it. Like, how are you able to control it like Magneto? That's the weird part. It's like,
exactly.
if you're just going to be like have Magneto powers, then okay, that's fine. But if you're just going to say, yeah, well, this is an inverted bullet and you're able to pull it up with your mind.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
It made more sense to me when the person was inverted and like everything that they did was inverted rather than that's an inverted gun and you have to like do something special to make it do that thing. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Because they went through the machine and the machine, would have injected, it would have radioactivated them or something. Like, that's okay. It's a giant microwave or something. That can somehow make some kind of sense. It's still crazy confusing and hard to buy, but at least it makes some kind of sense. I wish they'd have been like, if you wear this glove, then you can, have power over the inverted object.
Yes, this is an inverted glove. Here you go. And then it that's
and this has effect over inverted objects all over the world, but they didn't do that at all. It's just you dropped it. Look.
Oh,
like, what?
No. Oh, what?
Yeah. Explain to me why. Like, give me an actual reason. Don't just say you have to feel like you dropped it. Like, what? No.
So, how time like the act of like actually going to the past works here. So, they go back to the event where Satar or whatever his name is.
It works in real time, which is interesting. Because I think this is one of the first movies where that's done that.
You don't get in
way.
a machine and like input a number. Yeah. No, it's like if I had to go 50 years in the past, I'd have to sit here, be inverted, sit here and wait 50 years.
50 years.
And just wait. And then...
But you would still age, right?
You'd still age. You're not aging in reverse, are you? No.
So it's the only useful thing about it would be to undo a recent mistake.
If you can.
Basically.
Yeah.
So I chopped my arm off. Can I be inverted for a second, please, so I can undo that? Because that sucked.
In the world. And you can encounter your past self, obviously. I mean, that always...
And then you're like atoms come together or something.
Annihilation is what he said.
Yeah. What does that mean?
I wanted to see it happen.
Annihilation for everyone or just you?
Yeah, I wanted to see it happen.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting sucked in. Annihilation.
Yeah, if it was just for...
And that's why you don't touch yourself in the past.
If it was just...
Okay, I won't do that.
If it was the entire world, that's what Satar's plot would be. He'd just meet himself, be like, is it time? Yes, and he'd just give himself a high five.
Boom. Zooms out on the world.
Let's do this!
Full on explosion. High five.
Yeah!
Credits roll. The alternate ending. How it should have ended. We just wrote it.
God. Probably one of the most confusing things for me is the pincer move that they do at the end. That's so confusing to me. Oh my God. I don't understand it. Like, I know that they're doing the same operation, but one waits until it's over and then does it in reverse. And then one does it in real time. But...
No, they both are arriving at the same time, but it's just one. Yeah, that's what's so confusing. One, well, if you think about it, so when they went through the machine, everything was happening that had been happening, right?
Yeah.
It just was happening in reverse.
Mm.
Oh, man.
And who are they fighting there?
That's so confusing. It's
so confusing. That part to me, it's just... I've tried thinking about it so much. I've literally watched a YouTube video just to explain that one part to me, and I still don't freaking get it.
Yeah.
That part is the one part that makes me feel like a freaking idiot. A lot of the other parts, I'm like, okay, I just missed something. But that part, I'm like,
Because they even say like you have to rethink the way you think about
I
time.
know. And then I'm like, to what end? What is like... Oh, God. Because, I mean, we find out that Neil, that's the end for him. That's where he dies. He basically dies helping them at the end there. That's the end for him. Right? Oh, my God.
I think
Oh, my
so. I think we can confidently say so. By the way they were... Well, by the way they were kind of talking, I think they were trying to like wrap that up and make that emotional.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought was so cool about it. I love the way Neil like tied into everything, basically everything that had happened to him all the way back to the beginning of the movie.
It was a good moment. It was a good moment. I'm very confused about it still, but it still works. You get the idea of it, but the mechanisms of it, I'm reeling over what... I get the red. He sees the red string, and that's his, or whatever. That's to identify that's who that guy was.
He had saved him in the opera.
Yes, in the opera.
Because he knew he would need him later.
Yes, because he...
So I think that's another...
go
sorry to
ahead.
interrupt you. I think that's another example of that you can change things in the past.
Okay.
Because if he hadn't done that, he wouldn't have entered the Tenet program and been tortured. That was a strange thing. It was like, are you going to run him over by a train? Why are we at the train station?
Pulling out every
Why are we on the
single
tracks?
one of his teeth. My God. I'm concerned about...
Like I said, I still don't understand what was happening in that operation. Like, why?
I don't know. Don't know.
Why was he like wake up the Americans? I guess it was like a cooperation with Ukraine.
There was like the
or
Russian
Russia or
agencies
somebody.
and then the American CIA that was like going in and trying to slip in as one of
They
them.
were trying to act like they were part of it. And
Again, to one end,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who that guy is, and so I'm not allowed to understand at this point.
It's, sometimes I would say Christopher Nolan sacrifices character building for just like flashy, fast action. And I think that was an example of it where it, I feel like I would have enjoyed the pre-story, but I also enjoyed like quickly getting into the action. So it's like, I don't know, I'm kind of torn. I would have liked to have understand it better, but I also like the fact that it's just like, here we go.
Yeah, it was a great intro. I mean, like, a lot of the things that were presented here are confusing on its face. Like the pincer movement at the end, that's just confusing no matter how carefully they try to explain it to you, really. I mean, it's just so confusing.
And then how did Neil invert himself mid-thing? Like, what?
I know. He's like, hey, guys, what's up? I'm like, wait, what? How about...
I thought you were inverted.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's things that, like, are... Some of the things are needlessly confusing, where it's like, oh, yeah, you explained to me, like, the painting. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I can be explained to that in 10 seconds. But, like, it's just there to be needlessly confusing and just not... I don't know. It's strange. But... I mean... An important thing is, though, even though I have a lot of questions and I'm very confused, I get what happens at the end. Like, I still, even though, again, the mechanisms behind how, I'm extremely confused, but I do understand what was achieved at the end and, like, what happened. I know that. I know the result of it, but a lot of, like, how it occurred is, at this moment... beyond me.
I loved how they were just dragging his body through the water.
Oh my God.
Behind the boat. It was like, in case you thought he might be able to come back.
There's no freaking way.
That boy gone.
It was brutal enough. There was an I made an audible when he fell off that boat after getting shot. Just it's like, damn. That's like,
in case you were wondering,
and there he is. I almost expected like a cartoon iris to go over it, but there he goes.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's revealed like the protagonist. He's the one who he's the founder of Tenet, right?
I guess. I know, it's so weird. It's like things are founded in the future, but then they come back to the past to like
Yeah.
do things. And I guess Neil was the one like tasked with going back to like bring the protagonist forward. That's what was so confusing.
It's always weird to me when something is set in motion by something in the future to be like, oh, you're the one who found, you're the founder of Tenet.
Yeah.
Well, where did that idea come from? From future you. Well, where did...
Yeah. and like the Terminator is a fairly simple concept,
Yeah.
but it has gotten crazy confusing with each new movie.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, is he dead in this one yet? Or is he going to die?
Yeah.
Is his mom dead?
Terminator, I think, is more like silly in a way where it's like, well, this movie counts and the other movies don't count, and a lot of it does, I don't think, makes sense no matter who you are. Whereas I think Nolan, I do feel like he has some understanding of what's going on. I just think it's
I just mean it's the same kind of confusing where it's like future actions are supposed to affect past, and it's like, what? Yeah.
Luke.
Overall, I mean, I enjoy movies that are confusing and super deep, though. So, like, as much as it might frustrate me that I don't understand every concept in this movie, I kind of like that about it. So,
yeah, no, there is something very intriguing. I love time travel stuff, and obviously Christopher Nolan does too. But
yeah,
and it's just in a way that, I've never seen before, and so we're having to really break it down. And again, home release is where these ideas will...
It'd be interesting to see how long this stays in theaters.
Yeah.
I sure hope it does well this weekend.
Yeah.
It was not doing well our night.
No.
In our theater, at least. There was probably 12 people.
It was as close as we could get to like a private screening where I mean, especially where we were sitting, me and Amber, we felt like we were alone in the theater, which, I mean, for my way of being, that's great. I love being like, oh man, there's no one bothering me. I'm not close to anyone.
I didn't hear a single person talk, so that was
exactly.
awesome.
I never hear a peep. But yeah. Yeah, I think it wrapped up nicely, and I did kind of feel like the feel, not like a bad magic trick where you don't even know that a trick has occurred. You see the trick, you're impressed by it, but a lot of the mechanizations of how it occurred is completely lost on me. But yeah, I enjoy like we're talking right now. I enjoy talking to you about it. It's a lot. That's fun in that regard to kind of talk about the ideas. I'm sure there's going to be 10,000 Tenet explained videos that are on YouTube. I'm sure there's some right now.
Well, we just did kind of one. We explained some of it.
Ooh, yeah, that is
much as I understood of it.
Exactly. It's like we tried to kind of help ourselves out here.
Watch it again. That's what I would recommend in the end.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. I'm 100%
probably
gonna have to.
Understand more the second time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be people who are way better off watching this and be like, yeah, I understand, you freaking idiots. I don't think that's going to be a high percentage of the population.
That's okay.
Yeah, I feel like we did.
We're not the smartest.
No.
If you understand it better,
well done. Congratulations. We did the best we could. But anyways, I mean, always great to see a Nolan movie. It was great to see. I'm glad we got to see it in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever, man. I think about that. That about does it. I mean, what's the next movie that we're going to be seeing?
That is the question, isn't it? New Mutants was not that one. No Time to Die comes out in November, so it's a little ways off. But, definitely looking forward to that one.
Agreed. I mean, it might be a bit of a gap here between now and our next spoiler cast, but definitely No Time to Die will be among them. I mean, I don't really remember when Wonder Woman or Black Widow comes out. I think one of them comes out in October, and one of them comes out in November. I'm just not sure. But either way, we'll be here. We'll be here for it all. We'll understand that movie a whole lot better. I guarantee it, I guess.
Wonder Woman. That's the
Wonder
next
Woman.
one.
Okay.
October 2nd.
That's not too bad. That's like a month away. Okay, great. Fantastic. Wonder Woman. All right, we'll be there for Wonder Woman 88.
That's right.
I guess that does it. Luke, you got anything you want to say about Tenet before we close out?
I think it's well worth a watch. I mean, it's definitely not Nolan's best, but like I said, if you're into sci-fi, if you're into like mind bending things. I mean, I guess we've done a whole spoiler cast, so anybody who's watched this far has probably already seen
Yeah,
the
I'd
movie.
imagine.
But I don't know. I've been looking forward to it for a long time, so I'm excited. I'm just glad to talk about it. Glad to finally see it after so many delays. So what an awful year to release a movie, but I'm glad he finally was able to get it out. And I sure hope he makes his money back and makes a decent amount on it, because I think creators need to be rewarded for their effort, especially this kind of effort. So
I agree. And it's like you said I can't imagine anyone would be listening to the spoiler version of this. I can't imagine what that experience would be like.
yeah, probably not very enjoyable.
No, it would be like looking at an abstract painting, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Anywho, yeah, I guess that does it. Well, we'll be here next time. If you've watched this video, like and subscribe, do all those things. And if you're listening to us on Apple iTunes or Spotify, give us a decent review. And yeah, we'll catch you next week with whatever shenanigans we pull.
That's right.
All right. We'll see you guys later.